Okay, come on in.
We would drive her nuts.
Okay, come on over here and have a seat. Yeah. And just give me a few minutes to explain some things to you. First and foremost, this is an audio-video interview, okay? That's the camera over there, and you consent to that? Yeah. Okay. I have to fill out this form, and then I have to get a commissioner vote to come in and get you to swear to it, and then we'll start, okay? So just give me a few minutes to fill this out. This week, 23rd day of February.
It'll take a lie detector too if you need them to today.
Won't be today. Okay, today is the 23rd day of February 2000. Time now is, according to my watch, is 11:30 a.m. My name is Detective Bill Baker. We're conducting an audio-visual interview of Kathy with a C. What's your middle name, Kathy?
Mary.
And how do you spell your last name?
Norris.
Okay, I'm just going to start. So let me get the commissioner votes, and then we'll start, okay?
Is that for real?
Yes. This is Kathy Norris.
Hi, Kathy.
This is Karen. She's our commissioner votes. Okay. Give me a minute here, Kathy. Kathy, Mary, Norris. Okay, I'm just going to read this preamble, and then you can do your thing. There's a videotaped interview of Kathy Mary Norris on the 23rd of February in the year 2000. Interview conducted by Detective Bill Baker. Location of interview is at the South Frontenac OPP detachment. Today is the 23rd of February 2000. The time now is 11:30. My name is Detective Bill Baker with the Ontario Provincial Police. I'm with the Napanee Crime Unit. We are conducting an audio-visual interview of Kathy Mary Norris concerning the disappearance of Kelvin Norris. Do you understand and consent to this video statement?
Oh, yes.
Okay, Karen is just going to read you a few things here and explain some things.
Okay, if you want to place your hand on the Bible, please. Do you, Kathy Norris, swear that the evidence that you shall give in this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And 23rd?
Yes.
Before we start?
Sure.
Sorry, I had to run around so much before I left. Thank you.
You want me to wait?
No, just go right ahead.
Okay. keep going, Kathy. Kathy Norris, I want you to understand that you are now under oath, and everything you say concerning the present matter is considered sworn testimony.
Yeah.
Do you understand that lying under oath is a criminal offense, and doing so may result in perjury charges pursuant to the criminal code and possible other related criminal code charges?
Well, absolutely, I understand it.
And the last one. I also want to point out that anything you say today or have said in the past regarding this investigation may be used for the purpose of a criminal proceeding. Statements you provide will be disclosed, and you may be required to testify in subsequent criminal trials. Do you understand? Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to get you to sign the bottom of that, Kathy. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's your signature?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's start at the beginning here. First question I want to ask you, and we're going to go through all of the things that you've documented here. The first thing I want to know, and we'll put that right up front, and we'll work backwards. Do you today have any further information regarding the disappearance of your brother, other than what is here?
No.
Okay. So, what we'll do is we'll start with the information here that you gave me. Okay, Kelvin went missing in November of 1984, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you just give me a little background on that? What happened?
Oh, yeah. I got a call from my mom, and this was a few days after he went missing.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone call said just basically, Kelvin's gone missing. There's an airplane coming out dogs, I think, from Brampton and stuff like that. I was devastated by the news, devastated. And later I wondered, why didn't she phone me first before, going out there looking for a body? It doesn't sound right. You're missing somebody. Usually phone everybody first and say something like, well, if you see him, tell him to phone home. There was none of that. Also, she repeatedly changed her mind about what happened that night. Everything I heard was just lies and bullshit. That was the worst time of my life. When Kelvin went missing, it was absolute hell. I knew that he was dead, and I knew that they killed him. And I still believe that until ever proven otherwise. And that was then the first time in my life I had to relive my own childhood, specifically the time at the cliffs. So I was in just total hell with my brother's disappearance, all the lies. I knew he was dead, and then reliving what was absolute horror on the cliffs. And that was the worst time in my life. And I do have documented evidence, too, if you need it, that I did go through that at that time. I'm trying to get the paperwork now, so I'm not just saying it.
What do you mean by documented evidence?
I went for counseling at that time as well. It was the worst hell I've ever been in, and I'm trying to get the records from them.
What year was that?
1985, shortly after he went missing.
All right, let me just start at the beginning here. At the time of Kelvin's disappearance, where were you living?
In Guelph.
In Guelph with?
A guy named David Johnston.
Okay, how old were you then?
24.
You were 24?
24.
Okay, and your mother, Kelvin, lived where?
In Bath, with my brother Derek and my grandmother. This is why I'm here. Okay, there's 3 people in that house that night. Okay, my grandmother, my mom, and my brother. One of them is dead. One of them is suffering from a severe dissociative disorder, and the other one hasn't been spoken to yet. And I'm not going to feel like getting the answers until the one who's in that house, who really knows and can tell us what happened, gets questioned. I mean, I might be wrong about my brother dying, but until everything's done, and up until now, not everything has been done. Nobody's talked to my grandmother. She's not being made to take a lie detector test. Until that's done, and I think not everything has been done to find out what happened to my brother, because she's one person in that house that night when he went missing. Who knows? I have a lot writing on this as well, just to find out that answer. So I want you to realize right up front here, okay? I've got nothing to gain from it. In fact, I have a whole lot to lose. My dad helped me buy a house 3 years ago. Because I don't earn enough on my own, they made us co-owner, which both of us didn't want, but that's the way the bank wanted it. Okay? Now, if he gets charged with any of this, he goes to legal aid. Legal aid will take half the house. I lose half my house for $40,000. Pay for my dad's legal fees for him refusing me. It sounds ridiculous, but that is the way it goes. So I have a chance to lose $40,000 for this.
Okay. I'm going to go back to my question now.
Yeah, okay.
Who was living in the house at the time, back in '84?
Yeah, my brother Derek, my grandmother, and my mom and Kelvin.
Okay. And where was your dad at the time?
He was in Guelph.
And why were they not living together?
My mother, they
Your father?
separated a long time before that.
Do you remember when they separated?
I think it was just after I told the Trelevens I was being molested, so I'm not sure. Sometime in the 70s, they separated.
Okay, was your mother seeing anybody at the time?
Keith Haywood.
At the time of Kelvin's disappearance?
Yes.
Okay. And how old would Kelvin be at the time of his disappearance?
Was he 19, I think? Maybe I was 24. He was probably about 19. Yeah.
Was he going to school, or?
No, my brother was very ill. This is why I knew that he died and he didn't make it out there. He had a terrible speech impediment. The whole world scared him. He had really shriveled up to nothing. He just stayed at his desk, read his books. He wouldn't have gone out anywhere. He was too scared. He wouldn't have talked. He got to the point where I couldn't even talk to him. He'd put his head down, say maybe half a sentence, and then have to stop because of very bad speech impediment.
Okay, just for the purposes of this video, you've already been interviewed.
Yes.
By?
Detective Lillian Beauvais.
And
also with the detectives up in Caledon, Detective Gerald Shearer.
okay, and I think you were also interviewed by Detective Inspector Tim Smith?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you've given how many interviews now?
Well, at least 2 I can remember. One already audio, video,
Right.
one tape.
Okay.
That I can remember offhand.
Okay, so you've already laid the groundwork as opposed in regards to your brother and the home environment and your father and everything else. So that's already been documented, right? Okay.
For the most part, yes.
Right.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so we won't go over that part. What we will do is we will discuss what you've documented here, okay? And again, just for the record, you have nothing new in terms of your brother's disappearance. In other words, no new information, witnesses, or anything like that. Okay.
I just wanted, they seem from the last investigation not to really understand the full craziness and the extent of abuse in the family, and I really wanted to clear that up.
Sure.
This is not the kind of family somebody just disappears from.
Okay,
really.
so basically what we're going to talk about
Yeah.
now is everything in here. This is all stuff that you haven't told the police yet.
No, I did not want to discuss. I wanted to keep it as my own pain.
Okay, well, we will go through it then. The first part of this paragraph says, I have now decided to press forward with the whole truth. I believe that only by my telling the whole truth will I then have a chance of finding the truth of what happened to my brother Kelvin. I hope to show that there is a long history of abuse, violence, and attempted murder in my family in which both parents participated. I will show that Kelvin was not the only child who was supposed to die at the hands of our parents. I was supposed to die too. I want both my parents, Gail Norris Haywood and David Jeffrey Norris, to be charged with my attempted murder. I want you to understand my mother's mental illness, split personality, which allows her to perform vicious acts and then gives her an ability to immediately deny thoroughly that the viciousness has occurred. I want you to understand that and know that a lie detector test would be ineffective with her mental illness. Any schizophrenic who believes he is God would pass a lie detector test. I want you to instead bring my grandmother, Wynne Donald, in for questioning, and a lie detector test be as a possible accomplice in my brother's murder. Okay? And then you get into, I was molested by my father, David Norris, since I was in kindergarten. Okay, you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, there's no way that my mother could not know that I was molested. It was a small apartment in...
Just let me ask you one question
Sure.
before, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but as we go through this, you're going to have to tell me where you lived at the time, okay?
Sure. Regent Park in Toronto, and the housing project's just off of Young Street.
Okay.
Very small apartment, 3-bedroom apartment.
And this is where you would have been at the time when you were going to kindergarten?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. He started molesting me then. Very tiny apartment, very tiny. My brothers were all kept in one room, which was closer to the living room. My room was by the bathroom. Now, why my mother would have left my dad alone in my room, fully knowing that he was alone in my room, she knew something was going on, because when she got up, my brothers were screaming they wanted to use the washroom, and she told them to wait. And she went, looked and saw what he was doing, which he was molesting me, closed the door, and then let the boys go by to the washroom, and then put them back in bed, and then came out and opened up the door for him again. I mean, she absolutely knew what was going on.
How old
she
would you?
allowed it.
How old would you have been?
Kindergarten, however old somebody is in kindergarten, 6.
And who
Very young.
who all occupied that bedroom?
Just me. It was
Just
my
you.
own room. I was the only girl.
Where
4
did-
brothers.
Where did the brothers sleep?
They slept in another room, which is further down the hallway, close to the living room.
Okay, and your father lived there, obviously, and
Yes.
your mother?
Yes.
How old were your brothers at the time?
They're all a year younger than me, so they would have, if I was 6, it would be 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, do you remember what school you went to when you were in kindergarten?
Spruce Court.
Sorry?
Spruce Court?
Spruce Court?
I believe, yes, Spruce Court.
Okay. Now, when you say your father molested you, can you expand on that?
Just touching me all over, in my private parts. He smeared Vaseline all over my vagina type area.
Anything else?
No,
There was no insertion or anything like that?
no,
Okay.
not at that time.
And you recall that from today? You recall
Absolutely,
that?
I was devastated to realize that day that my mother knew. And I had fantasies about then why they were doing it.
What time of night would this been, during the day, at night?
It could have been very late at night because my brothers were still up. So after bedtime, but definitely not late. I was still awake. My brothers were still awake. But it usually always happened at night.
Okay, and explain to me again what he did?
Touched me all the time in my privates. I think he put Vaseline on my private.
Okay, did you tell your mother about this?
No. I realized after that night that she knew
How?
by looking in and closing the doors so the brothers didn't see.
So did your mother actually see him assaulting you?
Yes.
Have you ever talked to your mother about this?
My mother's, this is why it's ridiculous, kind of a waste of your time to even talk to her. I cannot talk to her. Really, I get no answers out of her at all. She has a great ability to deny everything. Her whole religion, too, is all based on denial. She's not quite all there. Although I did get her to tell me once that, yes, she did see that, and that's what got her very suspicious that I was being molested. And she did tell the people at the Clark Institute that she suspected I was being molested. She told them that I had told her, which was not the truth. It's very common for abused children not to speak. In fact, that's what happened to me. I turned into very quiet, withdrawn, and I did not speak.
Have you ever told anybody about this,
Eventually
this
told.
business when you were in kindergarten?
I can't recall offhand. I did eventually tell Rusty Trelevin. The Trelevins might be able to help us out a lot. I don't know how far you want to go, but they might be able to maybe help confirm some of the things. I don't know how much he can remember now, or if anything.
Okay, can you tell me who these people are?
If they were neighbors, we lived with them. They were neighbors in Regent Park, and they moved together to Brampton. They were neighbors too when we lived in Bramley.
And who are they?
The Trelevins. There's
Yes.
Pat Trelevin as the mother. Gord Trelevin was the father. Now, Pat and my mom were good friends. I don't know how much of a confidant Pat was to my mom, but maybe Pat can remember whether there was a family life insurance at the time was supposed to die at the cliff. I don't know. Maybe she will. I of course can't seem to remember even what she ever knew. But it was her son, Rusty Trelevin, that I told that I was being molested.
How old would Rusty have been at the time when
He
you
was
told
my
him?
age. He's very much my age.
How old would he have been when you say you told him? Or did you tell him?
I did tell Rusty.
Okay,
in
when?
Bramley.
Do you remember what year that would have been?
No.
How old you would have been when you told him?
No. A lot of me really died after that cliff thing. That was incredibly painful. I think I really closed up after that.
Do you know where you would have been when you told him?
It was definitely in Bramley. I don't know if I told him at my house or out in the park between their houses. Yeah, but I definitely told him. He told his mom or his parents, and his mom came and told my mom. And I think my dad was asked to leave after that.
Okay, when you're at, are you sort of jumping ahead here, or is that?
That was when I told Rusty in Bramley, and he told his mom, he told my mom. That's how my dad, I think, left us.
Okay, and this is the assault when you were in kindergarten, or is this further down the road
I
a
was
bit?
continually assaulted. It never stopped.
Okay, I'm trying to go by
Yeah.
by what I have here.
No, it started when I was kindergarten, and it never stopped.
Okay, then you say when I was in grade 1, my father was in my room at night molesting me while I was on my bed. The room was dark, the bedroom door was open approximately 4 or 5 inches, allowing light to come in from the hallway. The bathroom was right beside my bedroom. My brothers asked my mom for permission to use the washroom. My mom told them to wait a minute. She then came into my room, looked in, and saw what my dad was doing over my bed. She then shut the door, then allowed my brothers to use the washroom. When my brothers were done and put back into bed, she then came and opened my bedroom door 4 or 5 inches, then went back into the living room.
That's just what I described to you.
Okay. Then you have, sometime after this, our family went for counseling at the Clark Institute of Psychiatry in Toronto. My mother told them that I had told her I was being molested. This was not true. I had said nothing. She had seen it for herself. Do you remember when you went to the Clark Institute?
I don't remember the year, no.
And
I remember.
when you say our family went for counseling, can you explain that?
Yeah, all of us, parents, kids, everybody went for counseling at the Clark Institute. I remember that they had set up cameras and everything to watch us in the counseling session.
What brought that on?
I have no idea.
You don't know why you went there?
It was a whole family thing. No, I was only a kid, and they don't exactly tell kids why. No.
Can you remember how old you would have been when you went?
7, 8, I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably don't.
Can you tell me anything about the Clark Institute and the family and what the circumstances were around that? Okay. In or around 1970, our family moved to a townhouse in Bramley. Bramley, sorry. Bramley, I'm trying to pronounce that. I was continually molested while there. My mother's behavior was erratic, prone to outbursts of screaming or hitting. My father slipped into insanity at times. I frequently accompanied him to work as he worked with the Toronto Star. We drove around taking pictures and looking for stories for the newspapers. My brothers were never allowed to come on these outings. My mother frequently fought with my father over this and his unwillingness to bring my brothers.
Yes.
Okay, in or around 1970, how old would you have been at that time?
10.
About 10? Do you remember what school you went to in 1970? About that time? This is in Bramley?
Yes.
Okay. And you lived in a townhouse?
Yes.
Who all would have lived there at the time?
Both my parents and 5 children.
Okay, can you tell me who those 5 children are?
Yeah, myself I'm the oldest, then Brian, you're younger, then Carl, you're younger than Brian, Kelvin, who's now dead, and my youngest brother, Derek.
Okay, when you say I was continually molested while there, can you tell me about that?
The same thing happened. He'd try to come down my bedroom at night and try to touch me all over, fondle me with my privates. I was put in a basement. I had a basement apartment.
Okay, before you get ahead, I'm still back
Yeah.
there. Is this where you're going?
Yeah, that's where I was just saying where my bedroom was.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was molested in that room.
And your bedroom was where?
In the basement. Everybody else was on the very top.
Okay, and what happened?
I was continually molested as there, a little older then, and I remember many nights leaning on my door, trying to keep him out until very late.
Okay,
And he kept on begging to come in.
Okay, when you say molested, can you expand on that?
Just same thing as he always did, touching me, touching my privates.
Okay, did he have you do anything?
No.
When would this happen?
At night after bedtime.
And where would everybody else be?
Upstairs, my mom watching TV, and we're in bed.
Did you ever tell anybody about this particular time?
Only when I told Rusty Treleaven.
Okay, your mother's behavior was erratic, prone to outbursts of screaming and hitting. What was that about?
She just turned really bad when we moved to Bramley. It was very strange. I thought it was just me that couldn't get along there. She's a very hard woman to get along with. It was very crazy. I have trouble with my brother Derek as well, trying to describe to people how crazy it is. It was definitely crazy. I'd be out in the park and I'd just hear her scream. All the other houses, townhouses would be quiet, and there was this woman just frantically screaming. You'd hear her all over the place. It was really embarrassing. She'd jump up on the table and start screaming, "I demand respect," and just really bizarre. Just really out of it.
Okay, you say your father slipped into insanity?
He was crazy a few times.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Back then, at that time, I don't know how many times he went insane, but I believe he was committed a few times. I just remember from then, maybe one time he was just so drugged, gotten out of the mental hospital, was just in a chair and just drugged.
And this is while you lived in Bramley?
Yes.
Do you know where you might have been in, you say he was admitted?
I believe so.
Do you know where that would have been?
There's a mental hospital in Bramley. We went to visit him there, I think. Yeah, my memory for that is not exact on time and stuff. After the Cliff thing, that really destroyed me. I think just walking zombie, really.
Okay.
But I'm sure somebody else can confirm that. Medical records will
Okay.
confirm that. He was also spent time in Sunnyside Hospital, and the one in Brampton that I am aware of.
What you say your father worked for the Toronto Star at the time?
Yes.
What did he do there?
Reporter, photographer.
Okay, you go on to say that in or around 1970, our family moved to a townhouse in Bramley, was continually molested while there. My mother's behavior was erratic, prone to outbursts of screaming or hitting. My father slipped into insanity at times. I frequently accompanied him to work as he worked with the Toronto Star. We drove around taking pictures and looking for stories for the newspapers. My brothers were never allowed to come on these outings. My mother frequently fought with my father over this and his unwillingness to bring my brothers.
Yes. There were big fights over that.
Why was that?
I would imagine my mother was upset that my brothers were being, say, neglected by their dad. He'd only bring me out on the outings, not them, and he would beg and want to come too, and he wouldn't allow them to.
I believe in the year 1972, my father took me out again. I was taken to a woods and there asked to take off my clothes and pose nude for some pictures. I did. My mother found the negatives, and as my father told me, she was extremely enraged. She threatened to divorce him and she destroyed the negatives. At no time did my mother talk with me about it or try to protect me from him. Instead, she was incredibly hostile towards me. What makes you think it was 1972?
Well, the pictures I have from that time, I imagine myself, I think I look around 12. You know, I've done some research because so much of me was dead. When my dad left these books of his at my house, one's from 1971, one's from 1972. I looked at went through 1971 and what we're doing at the time. I don't think it was that year. Oh, by the way, one of these books he writes in it, I like my girls to look like girls, women complain too much in there. He also had to see a psychiatrist for what he said was his inability to stay away from girls. Probably on record somewhere. Now, one's from 1972. I read through that, and I believe this one here's from 70. This one here. I believe this is the year that the pictures were taken of me at the cliffs. The picture of when I was taken with no clothes on, there were still leaves on the trees. It was summertime. When I was taken to the cliff, the leaves were falling off the trees. And I remember after the cliff, it got so cold so quickly. But it was still around, I had no coat on, it was not cold in either of those times. Now in here, my dad writes everything he's done every day. Until you get to October, it's all left blank. I suspect, where is it, that what they did was he took some time off work, planned to take me to the cliffs and kill me during the time off of work, and give a couple of weeks to that to die down and take off to Scotland, which they did after.
Okay, you're saying 1972 now. You were born in
59. I was 72.
59.
I was 12.
You were 12 years old? And you're 12 years old in those photos?
Yes. I would definitely appear, and from the records, I would say 1972 that I found in here.
Okay. Now, when you say you were taken to the woods, you're living in
Family.
family. Do you remember what woods?
We went woods everywhere. I would remember which woods.
Okay. How long would it have taken you to get there
I have
from where
no
you live?
idea.
Would these woods be within the Toronto area?
Well, he worked, wherever he worked, he drove around all over north of Toronto. I think it was at Peel Halton, I'm not sure the areas. We constantly drove everywhere. I was just a passenger. I didn't look where I was going. We'd spend all day just driving.
So you're not sure where you were then?
No.
Okay. Can you see your mother found the negatives?
Yes.
Are these pictures part of that
Yes.
lot?
Yes. The picture there of me in the grass is exactly the same as the ones that she destroyed. The only difference is I had no clothes on.
Where did you get these photos from?
After the house burnt down, my mom gave me all the negatives, everything. I even got new pictures of her, so she didn't look like what I had.
Okay, are there any nude photos of you?
No,
No?
no. They were destroyed, according to my dad.
And no negatives? You say your mom destroyed all the negatives?
Destroyed the negatives of me with no clothes
Yes.
on.
Okay, my mother found the negatives, and as my father told me, she was extremely enraged. She threatened to divorce him, and she destroyed the negatives. This is what your father told you?
Yes.
So your mother knew that your father had been taking pictures of you in the nude?
Yes.
See, at no time did my mother talk with me about it or try to protect me from him.
That's right. fact, she got very hostile towards me, very much so.
Okay. Then you go on to say, shortly after that, my mother told me to get dressed up as I was going out with my father to get my picture taken.
And that was very strange. She argued with him and fought with him over him taking me. And then, she comes, oh, you're going to go get your picture taken today. And made sure that I got dressed up appropriately in the dress and high heels. And her telling my brothers, no, they can't come. The whole thing was just totally different than anything that ever happened in that house.
Okay, you have here that your dad took you to Rattlesnake Point Conservation Area?
Yes.
Where is that?
I'm not sure.
How do you know it's Rattlesnake?
I've been there before. I absolutely know it's Rattlesnake Point. When I'm a passenger in a car, I don't know where we're going. I'm still like that. When I'm being driven, I don't know how to get there if I were to drive.
Okay, where is this?
It's just northwest of Toronto, outside of Toronto somewhere.
Okay, would you still have been living in Bramalea at the time?
Yes.
And how old would you have been?
I was 12 at that time when I was taken to Rattlesnake Point. At the time, pictures were taken.
Okay.
I believe that
Do you
was
want to tell me about that?
at the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was taken to the cliff at Rattlesnake Point. I had a dress and high heels on. Now, the first posing I'd done, I felt comfortable with, safe from the cliff. On the top there was a rounded rock, and I think if you were to go and look at this yourself, you would see how dangerous it is. It's not a pretty picture to see it. I was put on the very top of a rounded rock with high heels, and he kept on yelling at me to get closer, lean over and look down. He wanted me to do that thing, lean over, get closer, look down. And I did get very close. I think the pictures would show that, really. And don't forget, his angle is coming up on the rounded rock. My son is off that cliff. It's not supporting any weight at all. It's down. It's down, and he was screaming at me, get over there more, put more weight onto this foot, which of course was just being off. And at one point, the rock started slipping from my heel. I was going to go too. And I was terrified. It was terrifying, very much so, on there. And he was just very angry, very angry. I was not getting close enough. And at one time when I froze, and I begged to get off, to be allowed to get off the cliff, and he didn't want me to. And he said, okay, we'll just start running your hand through your hair, and that's what I did. And then he did run out of film, and I took that opportunity, for him to change roles or whatever, to go back as far as I can from the cliff. I sat down, and I could not move. I was literally frozen in fear by that point. And then he pulls this, he's a professional photographer, right? And he takes film out, and he shows me his empty camera, and he goes, oh, shucks, look, I forgot to put film in my camera. We're going to have to do it all over again. And I just said, I can't move. I'm scared. I can't move. And he tried to get me again to take the pictures all over again, and I couldn't move. And he just says, okay, I'll come and get you then. And he came over, and I crawled a little bit over to meet him, kind of halfway kind of thing. And he held out his hand, and when he did that, I took his hand, and we were standing right at the edge of the cliff at that time. If we were both to step sideways, we both would have fallen off the cliff. And it was at that time that he grabbed me, he picked me right up, and he literally tried to throw me off the cliff. And I still remember him breathing and very hard to get me to go over. It was awful. It was really, really awful. And at some point, I could see my feet were just like over the cliff. There was nothing under my feet. I held his shirt, and I kept on trying to go this way, which is the safer side. And there's weeds out there, and I kept on trying to grab the weeds. And I think at one point I eventually did grab a hold, and maybe I jerked him, but I flew over, thank goodness not over a cliff. And I did not look behind, I did not anything, I just ran. I remember there's little trees growing up there, little trees. And I decided instead of running straight, I wanted to go tree to tree to tree as fast as I could in case I was caught so I could grab a tree. I didn't look behind, but I noticed when I got up there onto the trail, then he came up and he did try to catch me again, and I wouldn't let him near me. And he started saying stuff like, "Oh, I was just fooling, come on back," you know, and stuff, and and that didn't work. I wouldn't let him near me. The rocks, like the cliff is there, and they have like a rock wall over it, I guess, to stop people from falling off, let them know that. And he sat right there at the corner of the rock wall for all night. And he told me he was going to wait right there for me to come back. And of course I never did. And he waited there until it was really, really pitch dark. And I went back to the car and waited there. I saw people walking by. Oh, there's these two young guys who saw me on the cliff too. And they were freaking out. I believe that they ran for help, but nobody came at all. So I eventually got in the car, went home. He didn't say a word to me all the way home. Now this is what my mother cannot not know about this. You know, our house was usually messy, like it was disgusting. I think even the school at that time will say that the kids looked neglected. They never had the same. I have pictures of actually of us kids. We looked very neglected, messy clothes, you know, messy hair. Never 2 pairs of socks that matched, stuff like that. And she did not work at the time. But her house was always messy. Now that night when I came back home, the place was spotless. Like it was totally spotless. All the shoes were neat. And I suspect that's sort of, he was going to go kill me at the cliff, and she was going to make her house look like the nice middle class, nice neat house. And she started calling from the top of the stairs, "Oh, your daddy's home, your daddy's home." Of course, my brothers were in bed at that time. It was that late. And she never, ever got excited. He usually came and went as he wanted to. And, of course, out the night police beat or whatever he was doing at the time as well. He'd come home late. I've never seen her get excited. And she ran down the stairs, really happy. And then when she saw me at the bottom of the stairs, she just glared at me, like she just froze and just stared at me. She hated me when she saw me there. And my daddy just stood behind me. He just said, I went in my bedroom and I died inside.
How old were you at the time?
12, I believe I was 12. I think that's old. I died inside.
Did you talk to your mother about it?
No, nobody, no, nobody. No.
Have you ever told anybody about this?
Yeah. And I got absolute proof. I've been saying this since 1985 after my brother went missing.
Can you tell me who you've told about this?
Yep, I thought it was a counseling center. I was in so much pain after my brother went missing. Incredible. You know, he got the toothaches. Wow, those hurt bad. And I went for counseling at this clinic in Guelph, where I was living. And
this is after 1985?
This is in 1985, when I was going through the pain of dealing with both what I went through and the loss of my brother. I went through a counseling center. Well, I assumed it was a counseling center. I figured, man, I need counseling.
Where was that?
In Guelph. Okay. I have just recently asked for the records myself.
What's the name of the place? I
don't know. I do know the girl's name I spoke to there, Karen Cassidy.
You say you've asked for records?
Yeah, I have.
How did you do that?
Through my doctor's office. I phoned him yesterday to make sure they got to the right place.
What's your doctor's name?
Dr. Barbara Campbell-Unger.
Sorry?
Barbara Campbell-Unger at the North Kingston Health Center.
Barbara?
Barbara.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And where is her practice?
On Elliott Avenue here in Kingston.
Here in Kingston?
Yes. So I've requested a copy of those records.
Okay, when you say, is she your family doctor?
Yes.
Or is she a...
No, my family
Is that her
doctor.
practice? Okay.
Yes.
She's a GP then?
Yep.
No? Okay.
Yep.
And what did she have to say?
I didn't talk to her about it. I just asked the nurses to get a copy of the records from that clinic in Guelph.
Okay, so So your doctor doesn't know anything about this?
Yeah, she might know a little bit over the years. I might have told her a little bit. Yeah. But I did go for counseling at that clinic in Guelph.
Okay.
I went there and I saw a Karen Cassidy, who I hate and hate to this day. I went there and I told her, man, my brother went missing. I think they killed him. I don't believe for a second that my brother left without his good luck charm. My brother wouldn't go to the store and buy a taco bar with me without his good luck charm. He'd run back. He did that just months before he ended up disappearing. He would not leave the house without his good luck charm. Right? Plus all the different stories she told me about even how he left. I mean, she keeps on changing her mind. You know, I think now she's got the story down pat, by the way. You know, yeah. But I went there and said, my brother went missing. I believe that they killed him. I don't believe that. I said, and they tried to kill me when I was young. And I showed her the pictures of me up on the cliff. And Karen Cassidy treated me as if I was nuts. She wanted to put me away in a little mental institution, wanted to give me pills. She looked at the pictures of me in the cliff and go, oh, but I'm sure there was a little river down there you could have fallen into. Yeah, right, man, there's a long way to fall into a river. She goes, there's probably a rope tied around your leg. And it's like having a huge wound. I was absolutely hurting from this. And she had rubbed salt in it, you know, so not only in pain, they're treating me as if I'm nuts. And I ended up arguing with her. I went, and she set me up for a meeting with the head psychiatrist there. And I told him I wanted her out of the room. He got rid of her for me. And we had a good conversation. Me and the doctor liked him. I have no idea what his name is. I couldn't tell you. Maybe the records would show. And then I had one more meeting with the psychiatrist. And I liked talking to him. And then I phoned back again. I still wanted to work this whole thing out. And that's when I was told I was not allowed back anymore. Apparently, I did not know this at the time. It was only a clinic that deals with the mentally ill. Since the doctor said I'm not mentally ill, I got booted out. So here I am in the worst pain, got treated as if I was nuts. When they find out I'm not nuts, they boot me out. No recommendation anywhere else. And I decided, man, it's better to live with this pain than to go out and talk to people who still live with the pain and then get treated like if I'm nuts. So I didn't say anything to anybody for, well, here I am.
Okay. When you're on the cliff, what is your father saying to you?
Telling me to get closer.
No, when you're describing this business of him trying to push you off.
Nothing. He didn't say a word. I've been saying the same thing since 1985 anyway. Wouldn't they have a legal obligation to report what I said? Like after it became obvious I wasn't crazy, wouldn't they have a legal obligation to report that?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Who did you tell about this?
That's what I mean. The doctor and Karen Cassidy at that clinic. When it was decided, I was saying, did they have a legal obligation to report it? That's what I'm going after. I mean, instead they just prevented me, you know, from...
Okay, well, let's deal with these issues here. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about Rattlesnake Point, the conservation area. And you go on to describe the photos and the progression of the photos.
I have the negatives at home as well, so you can see that the progression. I have the negatives if you need them.
Okay, you made are you okay with time?
Well, I would like to go for a cigarette, please. It sounds like it'll take a lot longer.
Okay,
an hour.
hang on for another 15 minutes, okay, and then we'll take a break. Okay, you've got down here about a life insurance policy. What is that about?
I believe that there was one. Now, I'm not sure of the time, but I do remember my dad saying that there was a life insurance policy on everybody in the family, and that would have been in Ramley. And I'm curious if it's the same time that I was supposed to die at the cliff. Perhaps Pat Trelevin may remember that, I don't know. Don't bother asking my mom, she can't remember a thing, she won't say anything.
Okay, you have here in April 1984, and you describe an incident in a car with your dad?
1984, no?
Yeah, in April 1984, I was driving in a car
Oh,
with
yeah,
my dad.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I was, at that time, I was giving him a lot of money, helping him move to Guelph.
Where were you living at the time?
I was living in Toronto.
Where?
Beside Castellona. I was working at the 1 Hour Photo Lab in Eglinton Square.
Okay, and how old would you have been?
24.
And who were you living with?
David Johnson again.
Okay.
Mhm.
And your dad was he still working at the Star?
Oh gosh, no, they fired him for his mental problems.
Where would he have been living at the time?
He was just losing his house in Kelvin.
Okay, and you're pretty sure this is April 1984?
Yeah, I have notes of that.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, it's in my notes. And just out of the blue, we're driving, and he said something to the effect of, "I'm glad I didn't kill you." Actually, what my notes showed, I went over my notes. What my notes show from that time is what he said was, "I tried to kill you, I'm glad I didn't."
What notes are you talking about?
I kept notes after Kelvin went missing. I tried to keep notes to write things down.
Mm-hmm. And where are these notes now?
I gave most of them to the police at the first investigation of my brother's disappearance.
Okay.
Also in my notes, I went over them again. It shows a part where I did confront my dad at that time about me at the cliffs. Now, I forgot about it totally until I saw my notes over again. But now I recall, after my brother went missing, I phoned up my dad in Guelph. Now my dad and my mother hadn't spoke probably since '77 when the house burnt down. She had to phone him and tell him that. And they have not spoken together since. But yet, after I phoned up my dad, confronted him, say, "Hey, you tried to throw me off the cliffs. Did Mom know?" Of course, he denied the whole thing. But anyway, he turned around right away and he phoned my mom. Now, why would he turn around and phone her? He can't stand her, hasn't talked to her in years and years and years. Why would he phone her to ask if I knew about the cliffs, if she knew about the cliffs, if she had no knowledge about them? I don't understand why you do that. If she had no knowledge or nothing to do with it, why would he phone her and tell her? But he did, and my mother kept on quizzing me about that after. It's in your own notes, actually.
How do you know that he phoned her?
Because she quizzed me. She kept on quizzing me after, going, "So have you talked to your dad lately?" And I'd say, "Oh, no." I denied that I did. But she kept on quizzing me. "Are you sure you didn't talk to your dad lately?" I said, "No, he's nuts. I don't talk to him anymore." So definitely, I'll have to check my notes positively, but I think that she said she talked to him.
Okay.
Yeah, actually she did. It is in my notes. I believe it is. That she confirmed talking to her.
Okay, I'm sorry, you were going to describe an incident when you were in the car? It says in April of 1984.
That's when he told me, "I tried to kill you, I'm glad I didn't." And I just said, I was really taken back. He said, "Yes, so am I."
Okay, in this business here you have about his apartment in Guelph. Sorry, can you describe that again?
Oh,
About his
just as soon as I gave him all, he really ripped me off for a lot of money, actually. He really did. And after I paid his first and last month's rent on his little room in Guelph and bought groceries, and he just rejected both me and Kelvin. Just treated us really cruelly and totally rejected us. That's why I think now my dad is actually being really good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yet his whole history, he has not had a history of it. I really, although I never really see him, like he'll never come for coffee, he'll just drop off at my door, stay like 2 seconds, drop something off and leave or pick something. I think he's just scared.
Did Kelvin go see your dad often?
No, nobody saw my dad very often, no. Kelvin was trying to leave my mother's house because it was impossible to live there. My dad did not kill my brother.
Why would you say that?
He is as interested as I am in finding him. He absolutely did not kill my brother. There's no way my brother left a house alive. My brother would not have left that house to go out to see my dad without his wallet, his good luck charm, and never without a sleeping bag. He went through a lot of work to get that sleeping bag, and he did not go anywhere to anybody's house to sleep without a sleeping bag. We're all poor back then. If you didn't bring your own blanket, you probably wouldn't get one. My brother did not leave the house and go to see my dad without that stuff. There's no way.
Okay, just give me a second here. I'm just going through this. Okay, you have in here my mother was extremely hostile towards me after the attempt on my life, beating me, et cetera, et cetera. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, yeah. I was in the kitchen. She'd come up and slam the cupboard doors on my fingers, beat me against the walls. I don't know how many brushes and kitchen utensils she ended up breaking over me. Very vicious, you know, screaming. And, you know, I never struck back. I just allowed her to beat me. Only the one time that I described there, I just meant to defend myself. It was more, she was taking her nails and ripping at my face with them, eh? And I just put my hand up like that, but my hand ended up going into her mouth, causing her lip to bleed, and she turns around and calls me a beast, and I hear her on the phone, and that was really crushing. I mean, I didn't hit her. I just let her beat me. And yet, after she got hurt beating me, she's on the phone to her mother saying, "Oh, what a beast! You know, I made her, I cut her, I, you know, hurt her." You know, and probably after that, I went to live with her grandmother, my grandmother.
Okay, we're going to take a bit of a break here. According to my watch, it's 11:26. I'm going to leave the camera running. Okay, we won't turn it off. So if you want to, you'll have to go outside and smoke.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. Okay.
Did you want these as well? You might as well keep them. They're any good. Maybe you can find something in them. I don't know.
Okay, I'll show you to the front of the office so you can have a cigarette. Let me know when you're done. resumed at 12:30. 1. Okay, we left off with your mother beating you. Where was this?
Really.
Brownlee?
Patrick Levin may remember that as well. I remember my mom laughing about how much stuff she'd have to replace. Remember Pat laughing about it too, actually.
Okay, you've got, I also never received appropriate medical care. I broke my arm skating, not see a doctor. Okay, you got back here in 1975. I was sent to live with my grandmother in Bath. Where was that in Bath?
The same house my brother was missing from?
Okay, that was your grandmother's house?
Yes.
Okay. How long did you stay there when you were sent there?
Just a few months.
A few months.
Maybe longer.
And why was
I
that?
went to school there. Well, my mother decided she didn't want me, or my brother Carl was sent to Bath as well.
And your mother was still with your father at the time?
No,
No? Where was your mother living?
in a house in Bramley.
Okay, and your father was living?
I'm not sure.
Who were the kids with?
My 3 brothers stayed with my mom, and myself and Carl got sent to live with my grandmother at Bath.
Okay. For a couple of months?
Maybe longer. I went to school there in Napanee for a while.
Okay, and then you have, I was then taken away by my dad and sent to live in an occult in Orangeville?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of occult.
It was a nice one. Only
How
you
old
were
would you have been in 75?
I was 15.
You're 15 now. Okay, which school did you go to in Napanee?
I think there's only one.
The high school?
Yeah.
Okay. When you got sent to live in Orangeville, did you go to school there?
No, it was only during the summertime. There was no school. It was in the summertime.
Oh, okay. So you were in Orangeville during the summer?
First part of the summer. And my dad came and got me from Orangeville. And
Tell me about this Orangeville thing.
yeah, apparently my dad was a reporter, a photographer, of course, and he had to do the story about this girl who was kidnapped from the occult by her parents to be brainwashed and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to go back. You know, she didn't want to be kidnapped, and I guess her parents probably got charged with kidnapping her, and the whole thing in the newspaper about brainwashing and kidnapping and from the cults. It was all over the newspapers then. And I believe my dad was probably one of the photographers, reporters on the story, and that's how he met the people in the occult. And that's how he asked if I can go live there.
Why would he want you to go there?
I don't know.
And you went?
Yeah.
What happened?
Nothing. It was very nice. I wish I could have stayed there.
Because when you say an occult,
Yeah.
you know, usually
Oh,
you have
that's what
that
they were called in the
connotation.
newspaper. I know that's the way they're called. They
Or
were
is
a
it-
group of people in a huge house.
So this is more of a commune living type of thing.
Probably. I don't know why they were labeled an occult, but I believe that's the way they're labeled. I've just always called it an occult, because that's what I was always told from the newspaper.
Usually cults involve sex and drugs. And
Oh, no,
that sort
no,
of
they
thing.
just prayed a lot. I could stay out till 3 o'clock in the morning. They never said anything to me, but I bet you they prayed a lot. Okay. Yeah. They were actually pretty nice people. They really did help.
Okay, then
People.
at some point your dad takes you to his apartment in Toronto,
Yes,
and you stay there for a while?
yeah.
How long do you live there for?
Not very long. This is all during the summer.
Okay.
Probably not more than 2 weeks in Toronto.
Okay, and then at some point you have to go back to school.
I didn't go back to school, no. From Toronto, then I was taken to apartment in Richmond Hill. During that time, it was very obvious my dad was extremely mentally unfit. I lived in constant fear that I would not wake up again. In the apartment in Toronto, I was held pretty much a prisoner. I was not allowed out. I could not escape. I was constantly in fear. He wanted to kill himself and take me with him.
What makes you think that?
Oh, he told me that all the time. You know, so I'd go in and hide the knives, and hide anything, and I wouldn't sleep because I was scared if I would sleep, I would wake up because he would kill me.
Where in Toronto was this apartment, do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. I've lived in Toronto, and I still can't figure out where that apartment was. No.
Was it in Toronto itself?
In downtown Toronto.
Okay.
It was right downtown.
Okay.
And probably in the West End.
Okay, and then from there you go to...
Richmond Hill.
Okay.
He was still very, very insane, and I believe it was when he lived in Richmond Hill. This was very scary. He was in a car where going very fast down the back roads where there's no lights or anything, extremely fast. Like the trees were just whipping by, and he was telling me that there's a bridge up ahead, and we're going to crash into it, and we're going to go out in a spectacular crash. And it was very frightening. And I jumped in the back seat and I curled up on the floor, just waiting for this crash. And thank goodness it never came. The car slowed down, and that may be in his medical records because I believe he told the doctors that he wanted to kill himself in the car that way. He actually forgot that I was in the car too. I mentioned it to him a while ago. He remembered trying to kill himself in the car. He forgot that I was in it too. I was able to escape and phone the police in Richmond Hill, who came and got my dad in the apartment. He was half off the balcony. Dad pulled him off the balcony, and they put him in a mental hospital. I'm not sure which one. And I was put in the children's aid.
What police would you have called in Richmond Hill, do you remember?
No,
No.
I didn't even make the call. I had the people inside the hotel phone for me because I didn't even have a quarter.
Inside the hotel?
I got out and I walked down the street to
What would you have been doing?
hotel.
Oh, okay. And the police were called?
Yes.
Okay. How long was your dad in the hospital?
I have no idea.
And you were put with?
The children's aid.
For how long?
Not very long, maybe even just a week.
Okay, and where did you go from there?
Back home to Bramley.
With?
My mom and my brothers.
Okay. Did you go back to school?
Yep. I was late starting school.
What grade would you have been in?
Nobody bothered to get my records from Napanee, so they wanted me to grade 9 over again.
Okay, so you would have been how old?
15 in grade 9.
In grade 9 in Bramley?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't very happy about that neglect of records to do the year over again.
Okay, at that point, did you ever tell your mom any of what
She was not
going
slightest
on?
bit interested. She was given a phone call about 3 o'clock in the morning from the police in Richmond Hill, saying that her husband's mentally ill. He's going to be sent to the mental hospital. Her daughter's here in the police station. Can she come and get me? She refused, not at all interested. One of the cops in the police station took pity on me, I guess, and wanted to take me home himself. His superior told him he's not allowed to do that. I was put in children's aid, and I often heard the worker phoning up my mom, asking her to come and get me. Would she please come and get me? She refused, did not want me back. Finally, she agreed to come and get me. When she came and got me, it was very obvious she didn't want to come get me. She didn't want me back there. She just, all the way home, told me how much she hated me. So why tell her what I went through? She wouldn't care if I was dead.
Okay, and so what happened after that?
I went back, I lived there. I met a guy, Brian Cripps, became my boyfriend. Then both my parents decided that I was going to move out from anyway, might as well kick me out. So I was thrown out to go live with him.
And where did you live?
I went with Brian to an apartment in Toronto.
Okay, and you're still 15?
No, I just turned 16. It was just right after I turned 16, so I hit that out.
Okay, what did you do?
Just lived with him. I tried to find jobs in restaurants, whatever I could do. Yeah.
Okay. How long did you live with Brian?
I'm not sure, maybe 6 months. Maybe.
Okay, you mentioned an incident where you eventually wound up in the streets in Toronto.
Oh yeah, the relationship with Brian didn't turn out, and I ended up homeless, I think, for a long time, just drifting. It seemed like a long time.
what happens after that?
I went around with some girlfriends who were always trying to find places to live. I had no clothing, no food a lot of times, you know, and then no place to sleep. And I did go visit my dad, who had an apartment again at that time in Toronto, and I went to visit him. Probably looking for home, food, whatever, I don't know. Whatever searching for at that time. Absolutely did not have the skills to make it out there at that time. I understand all the street kids, I really do. And anyway, he took me out to the Old Mill, a very fancy restaurant in Toronto, very expensive, $150 or more to eat there. And we bought a lot of Black Tower wine, and I was so drunk I could not walk, and made it back to his apartment, and I was very drunk. I couldn't walk, I was throwing up, and I went to go to lay down, and I was raped that night by my dad.
Can you tell me what happened? As far as what he did to you?
I was on bed and throwing up and half out of it, and he raped me having intercourse. This never goes to trial. Do I gotta describe it in detail? That's pretty damn gross, man.
No, that's usually what happens if you decide to proceed with any sexual assault.
I don't even care if I proceed with this. All I'm going to lose is half my house and time in court. I just want to find my brother, because it amazes me how there's 3 people in the house and one person hasn't even been questioned yet. That's why I'm here. I'm not going to go away until that's done. I may be wrong. Maybe they didn't do it. But I think there's enough questions as to maybe they did. I'm not going to go away until that is done.
Okay, well,
Even if it means that I have to risk losing half my house and going up testifying against gross stuff I really don't want to testify about. I don't want to get up on the stand and testify I was raped in detail, and a bunch of perverts want to know, goddamn.
Okay, and then you have down here, in 1984, my brother Kelvin disappeared from my mother's house.
No, this is the only reason I'm doing this. Otherwise, I would prefer not to. I've been working on my house for 2 years straight. It's all my money and none of his. I risk losing half my house and testifying about that shit. The only reason I am doing this is to do more to find Kelvin. I like working with the cops in Kelvin. I know they did everything they can. Okay, I know that's settled. Not everything's been done about my brother. I want to bring enough to questions so they can
How
go
did
in.
the police in
and
Kelvin get
more.
involved in this?
I just phoned him up and bugging him. I want somebody to listen. I want somebody to listen, and they eventually did. I bugged them a little bit. But
When did you talk to the police in Kelvin?
It was just before Christmas.
Of this year?
Yep.
Okay, and who did you talk to up there?
Detective Gerald Shearer.
Okay.
Very much like he was very thorough. I liked the way he did everything, and he did all he can, and then I can leave it at that. Now.
Did you tell him any of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you told him all of this then?
Yeah.
Okay, and what did they have to say?
Well, they asked me if I wanted to pursue this, and I did not at that time.
And things really haven't changed then? You still really don't want to pursue any of
I
this?
would absolutely prefer not to, except for, I think it's important that both my parents tried to kill me, absolutely. I don't want to get up in the stand and testify about the rape in detail and stuff. I don't want to do that. The only reason I am here is I want to give you enough so that you can really go and try to find my brother. That's the only reason why I'm here. I don't understand why my grandmother wasn't brought in, as the only one person out of the 3 in that house who's still able to really give an account of what happened.
Okay.
That's why I'm
I just want to get his name again. What's his name again? The fellow in Kelvin?
Gerald Shearer?
Sure. I don't know him.
They're very good. I very much...
Shearer?
Shearer.
Okay, so you've already explained to them, and I guess to Gerald, about all these incidences involving your past and business with your father and your mother?
Actually, Mr. Gerald Shearer is the second person in this world ever told that I was raped.
Okay.
It's not something I like to talk about.
Where's Derek now? Your brother Derek?
He's in the United States.
Where?
Denver, Colorado. He's not interested in talking. He also believes that my brother Kelvin was killed that night, but I don't know if he'll be very cooperative. He may even be very angry at me for pursuing it more. Derek's idea is, okay, Kelvin is dead. By arresting Mom and Grandma, they're going to hurt the other kids in the family, all my other brother's kids.
All right, well, we might as well go through this again, just so we have it on tape. All right, so you've discussed the business of when your father raped you, and you have by 1977, my brothers were fleeing my mother's house.
Yes.
Okay, what was that all about?
And she's impossible to live with. This woman is crazy. She's very, very crazy. Impossible to live there. Everybody left. Bailed out as soon as they could.
Okay, and what about yourself?
I bailed out too, obviously.
Okay, and where did you go to live?
I was living on the streets for quite a while.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, you mentioned a situation here where your father dragged you out of bed one night by the hair.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about?
I have no idea what that was over. I think it was because I didn't do the dishes the night before.
Where did that happen?
I was still searching for a place, a home. My brothers were all then out on the street and searching for a place for a home, and I still had this idea that I could have a home and a place and get a place for my brothers. And I thought this was when my dad bought a condo in Mississauga for a purpose that we could all have a place to live. And I saw myself as taking myself back to school, which I did do. I went to Conestoga College there for as long as I was able to, and help my brothers have a home. But my dad was really, really crazy. I thought I was old enough by now. I couldn't get hurt anymore, and I could handle his emotional instability and handle myself and to help my brothers go back to school. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what was happening there. But after he tried to kill me with a knife, I knew that was not going to happen.
You mentioned in 1985, a year after Kelvin disappeared, I visited the house in Bath with my boyfriend, John Luke.
Yes.
What was that all about?
Just visiting. I was just hoping to show that at that time, that house was a crazy house. It was just very, very crazy. We're three adults. We're kind of all street smart, not scared, certainly, of any little old lady. And she did really terrorize all three of us that night. We were up sitting in the dark watching the door. We were really scared of her. She was really just wild and just freaking out because the light was on. And the only reason the light was on because we were scared of her. It's just ridiculous. It was. Like, John, I'm never coming back here. I don't know. I did tell John about my brother Kelvin and what I assumed happened. And I don't know if he really believed me until we visited. After that, he definitely did. Absolutely want to show it. That was a crazy house. I don't know what they got in the last investigation, but...
Okay, you talked about your mother when she was young. She had a playmate?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I'm not sure what his name is. This is what I've heard through my dad. Of course, my family, they don't talk. I don't think I've ever had a decent conversation with my mom about anything. Now, apparently, my mom had a cousin or something on my grandmother's side. They're all Christian Scientists, Mary Baker Eddy. They don't believe in medical care. They don't do God created, their whole religion is based on denial. There's no such thing as evil. God created everything, therefore there could be nothing bad, so therefore if there's something bad, you don't see it. It's mortal illusion. There's no death, no disease, no anything. It's just totally ridiculous. There's evil, and I see a lot of evil there even. But I guess she played with this boy, and he was hit in a park with some kids, and it was something, if he was taken to the hospital, he could have been fixed. And instead they just let him lay in bed and die a week later. I can see them, like they're the people, because I remember when if I ever got sick, they'd just scream at me. So I can see that poor kid in bed, and these women are screaming at him, calling him a lazy bum, get out of bed, and the whole kid dies. But my point is that once he did die, he just became, never existed, never allowed to speak his name, like the whole thing was a mistake. He was just never existed. Never. She had a playmate, and all of a sudden she was not ever allowed to mention that he ever existed.
Okay.
I must hurt a kid.
And this information you gave to the officers in Canada?
I don't know if I told him that or not.
Okay, where did you find this out? How did you learn this?
My dad told me a few
Your
years
dad
ago.
told him?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's your dad, by the way, now?
He's in Kingston. He drives.
He lives in Kingston?
Yeah. He drives for Tata's Pizza.
Oh, does he? Which one?
The one on Princess Street.
The
across
downtown.
from the Salvation Army.
The downtown one? Okay. How long has he been living in Kingston?
2 years, maybe? Yeah.
Really? When had he moved from Toronto to Kingston?
Where was he living? He was living, oh geez, I don't know, west of Toronto. Yeah. And he came in, and actually he helped me buy my house.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't talk to him for years. His phone up, hey Dad, I want to buy a house, can you help? And he did help me. And I told him at that time, he says, well, if you ever need a place to live, he was living, I didn't think he would show up, but apparently he did show up at my door one day, unannounced, with all of his bags in my car, and I did let him move in for a while. That's how he came down to Kingston.
Okay, the couple of questions that I have for you are, nothing happened to you at the house in Bath, at your grandmother's?
I never went there.
Okay, but you were never assaulted there, from what you're telling me. You were never assaulted there, nothing ever happened there to you. That everything that you're telling me here happened in areas of Toronto, Bramalea, Richmond Hill, and those areas.
After that, dear, I didn't go back.
Yeah, no, I just,
Yeah.
for jurisdictional purposes, okay? Now, there's a couple of things I should tell you. First of all, just let me ask a little bit about you. You have children?
Yeah.
How many children do you have?
2.
2. And how old are your children?
8 and 6.
Do they go to school?
Yes.
What are your children's names?
Tyson and Cole.
Okay. Father?
Father is Tom Anderson, no longer in the picture.
Okay. When did you move to Kingston?
Well over 10 years ago. 1987 or 88, probably.
Okay, what brought you back to Kingston?
I was breaking up with a kid's father. We were together then, we broke up. I moved down to Kingston.
Mm-hmm. Where does he live now?
He's around Kingston.
Oh, okay. And you live where?
I live at 14 Dufferin Street, downtown.
And you lived there for how long?
Since I bought the house, 3.5 years.
Where did you live before that?
I lived, my mom owns a house on 24 4th Avenue. I lived there ever since I moved from Kingston. I moved out for a brief period, lived downtown with Kay Healy Homes and also with Ontario Housing for a little while I saved to get the house.
Okay. When you moved to Kingston, what did you do?
I got a basement apartment. When I moved to Kingston, I did go to school for a while. Went to St. Lawrence College up here, and did get several jobs. Had a job as a manager in a photo department in Kmart, taking pictures. of people and stuff. That's generally been my line, either in photo labs or taking pictures. I did that. I did a few odd jobs, stuff like that. And 8 years ago, started making babies.
Okay. Are you working now?
Yeah.
Where do you work now?
I help take care of seniors. As I told you on the phone today, I had to cancel quite a few appointments today.
Okay. And so who all lives at 14th after now?
Myself and my 2 children.
You 2 children. Okay. Are you on any disability or anything?
No.
Okay. Are you seeing any
No.
psychiatrists, analysts, or anything like that?
No.
Okay. A couple of things I want to explain to you. First of all, the investigation that was conducted in 1996 by Inspector Hall, or Inspector Smith, and Detective Bove. As you know, they did a lot of work. They spoke to a lot of people. People were polygraphed. They traveled
One
to the
person
States.
was polygraphed.
Well,
My grandmother was not even questioned.
I can't answer that right now, but an investigation was done. Okay, at that point, now keep in mind, this is a detective inspector, he's with CIB unit, and he is the person that dictates how an investigation goes. And they investigated to a point where, unless they are able to continue, then they discontinue the investigation. Now, that is the opinion that they came to at that point. I don't have to
What
tell you that, you
opinion?
know that.
What opinion? They didn't even tell me. In fact, they treated me like shit after the investigation was over. I mean, like, I went through hell over my brother. At least have a right to know if they think they did it or didn't and why.
Right, but I want you to understand something, okay? Just listen to me for a second. There is nothing, and then you went to Caledon OBP detachment, where
It was not over my brother.
wasn't over your brother?
No.
Oh, okay. It was over another matter?
Yes.
Well, what was that matter?
I believe there's a girl killed in Toronto as well, and I'm trying to look into that.
There was a girl killed in Toronto?
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah. Who's that?
I have no idea who she was or what her name was, so.
Oh. Okay, I mean, is it that you don't want to tell me, or that you don't know?
I don't know
Oh,
what her
okay.
name was. I do believe that I was present when my dad killed a girl in Toronto. Detective Shearer looked into that. I believe he did all he could to try to find it. We have not found her. So I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But if still last year was a girl at the beach in Toronto, and she did end up getting killed.
Okay, fair enough. I guess maybe what I'm trying to explain to you is there really isn't anything further at this point, and I think you'd have to agree with me on that.
No, not at all.
that
That's why I'm here.
there really isn't anything further that's new that would say, okay, this
I'm just
person...
here to get fucked, right? Lose my house, what he charged my dad with these crimes, and don't do anything to find my brother?
No, I'm trying to explain something to you, okay? Don't get mad at me, okay, because I'm trying to explain something to you. There is nothing new that has come to light that would say, okay, this person did it. This is where his body is. This is how it happened. To reopen an investigation, that kind of stuff has to exist.
Okay, a couple of
But-
things they did wrong. I told them, even before they took my mother in for the lie detector, I said, don't bother. She is dissociated. I've seen her, okay, do something incredible, burst out. A minute later, it looks done. Huh, oh, that never happened. I'll confront her, you just did that. Oh, no. I mean, they never took that into consideration at all. I mean, I know it's very rare that somebody suffers from that. She has it. They did not take that into consideration. I told them, don't bother giving her a lie detector test. I know exactly how it's going to turn out. Sure enough, they closed the investigation on her lie detector test. I said, you want to bring somebody in, bring in my grandmother. She knows what happened. She still hasn't been questioned.
Well,
And they tell me to go have tea with my nice mom. I've had tea with her plenty of times. Not once did she mention Kelvin. I don't know, myself, if I had one of my children accuse me of killing another children, I might make it a point to at least mention it to them.
where does your mom live now?
In Bath,
In Bath?
with her husband Keith Haywood. I think I've definitely shown, okay, my mother, I don't believe that she doesn't know it's supposed to die in that day in a cliff. And I think if my dad was put up against a wall, he knows he's going to go down. He would say that my mother planned with him to kill me at the cliffs. She's definitely capable of murder. I don't got to go have tea with this woman Obviously, if they come up with that conclusion, they did something wrong. Why would they close the investigation on her lie detector test when I told them it wouldn't work when my grandmother was there that night and the one person who could tell us what happened, she hasn't been brought in? If I risk losing half my house, $40,000, as well as all that time up on the stand, okay, I've got no desire to make myself a victim again by making me go through court to my dad to jail. Not going to do me any good. I do want to find out what happened to my brother. I think there's enough stuff there you can open it up. If I want to cause a lot of problems, I could. You can tell your boss that too.
Well, I want you to understand.
This is the kind of stuff 2020 is made out of, 48 hours is made out of, in every newspaper from here to there. I think I definitely have enough to open it up and bring my grandmother in for questioning. Because any of their lie detector experts which they would get, would say that somebody who's mentally ill or disassociated personality would fly through a lie detector test. It doesn't matter anything. And I haven't heard anything from you or anybody else in that investigation as to what did they think happened to my brother. Besides, I should go have tea with a nice little grandma.
You gonna let me finish?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is, I'm answerable to my detective inspector now, the fellow, my supervisor. I have to go back and tell him what the new information is. Okay, are you with me so far?
Yes.
All right. Now, everything that you've told me that has happened to you, the attempt murder, the rape, everything else, that is not our area. And I think probably the fella in Caledon has probably told you that, okay? If you want, but just let me finish there, okay? Because I can see the way you're looking at me. Let me finish it. If you're interested in pursuing this stuff, listen to me for a minute. If you're interested in pursuing any of this stuff that happened to you, there's no problem. I'll hand this stuff all over to the proper authorities, and that this stuff happened in their jurisdiction.
Sure,
okay?
move my house and there won't be another thing done to find my brother. I got it.
You don't have to pursue it. If you don't want to pursue it, you don't have to. Okay? That is a whole different story. Now we're talking about Kelvin here,
Yes.
right? Okay, that's what this is all about.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay.
It's over Kelvin.
That's right. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to do anything to try and find out what happened to Kelvin. Don't get me wrong. Okay? What we're
I want a
doing.
good answer why my grandmother wasn't brought in. As the one person who can give an answer to what happened, who's in a... You had a guy shot on Valentine's Day, remember? They brought everybody in the whole house in for lie detector. Why wasn't that done in my brother's murder? And it hasn't even been proven it was not a murder. And it should have been. And tell your boss I'm going to keep on pushing until that is done.
Did Tim Smith or Leanne Bovey ever talk to you at the end?
Yeah, that's when they threatened to arrest me. That's when they told me to go have tea with a nice mom.
What exactly did they tell you
Nothing.
about Kelvin?
That's why I'm still here. Nothing. And I think I have a right to know, because no matter, I am the loving relative who has searched for him, and I think that I deserve an answer then of what they think happened to him. If I'm wrong and he wasn't killed, although I don't think that I am. And I didn't get that. In fact, I got treated as shit from the last investigation.
Okay, well, I don't know what they said to you. That's why I'm asking you. Okay. Now, I'm telling you that I have to go to my supervisor with this information, and then it's up to him to decide what he wants to do. So there's no sense getting mad at me. You know, if he tells me to investigate for the next year, then that's what I'm going to do. Okay?
You tell them I want my grandmother brought in for a lie detector test. I take everything I have and the pictures I have, and I'll find some place that would like to run it and come up with a very good show. And a lie detector expert of their own will totally disprove it, because I think that's all you've got, their lie detector test. And make a big point as to why my grandmother wasn't brought in. If I'm willing to go this far, lose half my house, lose whatever, I'm going to go all the way, because you guys haven't yet.
Well,
The guys in Caledon, I know they did. You guys haven't yet, otherwise she would be brought in. She hasn't, and I want to know why. And as the surviving relative, want to find my brother, and plus what happened to me, I got a right to know. Do I not?
certainly.
Again, I want an answer as to why.
As to why.
She was not brought in, why she wasn't even questioned. She was there that night. I claim my brother was killed that night. I might be wrong, but I'd prove it. Prove me wrong then. Nobody's even done that. Right now, I claim she was there that night. My brother was murdered, and he was murdered, and my mom is absolutely capable of murdering him.
All
And why
right.
wasn't she not questioned?
Well,
And that's the point, I'm gonna push and I'm gonna push and tell your boss, I'll be right there pushing him. He doesn't answer to me, I'll get a lot of other people you'll have to answer to.
all right, now listen to me for a second. First of all, I haven't, the file is still in Toronto as to what has been investigated, who has been spoken to, and who hasn't been spoken to. So I can't sit here, and I'm not gonna lie to you and say this person has been talked to and that person hasn't been talked to, okay? The file was in Toronto. I haven't had a chance to sit down and view it. So I'm going basically on the information that I received from Detective Beauvais, from some other sources, plus what I've read, and plus what you've given me. But I haven't viewed the whole file, so I can't sit here and say this person was spoken to, that was person was spoken to.
It was all,
Okay,
what,
so
that she passed the lie detector test,
all right,
it's over.
all right. So give
But
me
I told him it wouldn't work anyway.
give me the benefit of the doubt, and let me find out if she was interviewed and what went on, and then we will have another interview, okay? And I will explain to you, hopefully to your satisfaction, what has been done, what hasn't been done, and what will be done.
I would like that very much.
Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Okay.
I deserve that. I didn't get it the first
Absolutely.
investigation.
Absolutely.
I deserve that answer, not to be treated like shit like I was last time.
Well, I'm
Absolutely.
trying to treat you with the utmost respect here, okay, and dignity. But you have to understand that I'm not a magician. I can't make things happen.
No,
Okay, all I can
no.
do is try and satisfy some answers for you.
Absolutely, I deserve those answers.
Certainly.
For my own peace, I deserve those answers. I
Certainly.
didn't get them. I
Right.
went through absolute hell when my brother went missing. And I think I can prove most of what I say is true too. I'll take any lie detector test you want, and I think I deserve that closure. I never got it. And if my grandmother hasn't been brought in for a lie detector test, I want to know why.
Okay.
And if I don't
I'm
get it,
telling you,
let me know
Kathy,
too. Yeah.
I'm telling you, give me some time, I'll look at the file, I will try to answer as many questions as I can for you. And in the meantime, I will talk to my supervisor, tell him what has happened, what the new information is. He will tell me what I'm going to do, and then I can tell you.
Okay.
How's that?
Very good.
Good? Will you be happy with that?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, I will be.
Good.
I will be.
Okay.
Now, did you want to keep those? Or?
Well, right now, no, I'm not gonna take them right now. If at some point I need them, you make sure you hang on to them, okay? And I can get them. So, it is 10 after 1.
Very good.
Okay, do you feel a little bit better now? Okay. After you. Okay, this interview is concluded at 1:11.